Hi sir, I'm Fiona Virginia Halim from 11 Cafe 2, and this is my submission for the procedure text assignment. And today I'm going to show you how to make chocolate chip cookies. Okay, on to the ingredients that we'll need to make chocolate chip cookies, which are 2 eggs, 70 grams of white sugar, 65 grams of brown sugar, 200 grams of all-purpose flour, and make sure you got the all-purpose flour because there are many kinds of flours out there, and the one we need is the all-purpose flour. Okay, and then we'll need 200 grams of chopped chocolate bar. We're going to chop the chocolate bar into itsy bitsy pieces like in the picture, and then half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 100 grams of unsalted butter. Then next, the equipments that we'll need to make chocolate chip cookies are a mixing bowl, a mixer, so you can use a traditional mixer or an electric mixer based on what you have at home, and then a kitchen scale to measure all of the ingredients that we'll need to make the cookies, and then a baking tray, a baking paper, and an oven. Okay, next, on to the step-by-step instructions on how to make chocolate chip cookies. So, for the first step, we'll need to preheat the oven to 160 Celsius. And then next, on to step 2, we'll need to take our mixing bowl and then combine butter, brown sugar, white sugar, eggs, and the vanilla extract. Then on to step 3, we're going to mix all of the combined ingredients. Then next, on to step 4, we're going to take the same mixing bowl, then add flour, baking soda, the chocolate bits, and a pinch of salt to make the cookies more flavorful. And then we're going to mix it up all again. And then on to step 5, we're going to place baking paper on the tray and put the shaped dough across the tray with space in between each dough. So we'll need to make some space in between each dough because when the dough are baking, it's going to expand and we don't want the cookies to get stuck with each other, so it's better to put a space in between them. Okay, and then on to step 6, we're going to bake the cookies for 10 to 15 minutes until the edge is crispy. And then on to the last step, which is step 7, we're going to let the cookies cool for at least 10 minutes, and then we can enjoy our freshly baked cookies. Okay, and then I also have some tips and tricks on how to make the perfect chocolate chip cookie. So, for the first tip is to use room temperature ingredients, especially the eggs and the butter, because if you use a butter that came right out from the freezer, it's going to be a bit harder and it's going to be a bit hard to mix with the other ingredients, so it's better to use the room temperature butter and eggs or other ingredients. And then on the second tip is to not overmix the dough, because overmixing the dough will make the cookies harder and stiffer, so don't overmix your dough. And then onto the third tip, which is to use baking paper for easy cleaning, because it's going to save you time from needing to wash the baking tray that got some excess cookies stuck onto the baking tray if you're not using a baking paper. So it's a good choice to use a baking paper. And then onto the last step, which is to let the cookie cool on the baking sheet for few minutes before transferring, because transferring your cookies right after it came out of the oven, it's going to increase the chance of the cookies breaking because it's still a bit hot from the oven. So it's good to wait for the cookies to cool as the instructions on the step-by-step before said. Okay, and then that's all for the recipe that I'm going to share with you guys today. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.